Thank you very much for being here, everybody. If you can hear me well. I'm going to go in English now. And thanks for allowing me to share a little bit of what we did back at our laboratory. Okay? Thank you. So let's start. Where's the marker here? Should be like this. Nothing happens. Maybe like this. There we are. Alrighty. Okay, we are going to be talking today about Neuro shopping. What we do back at our company, actually we joined two companies, one 23 years old, which is mostly dedicated to consumer research all around the region. And the other one is a 10-year-old company solidly dedicated to neuroscience, consumer neuroscience, which is a formal name for neuromarketing. So our aim is mostly bridging the gaps, trying to use neuroscience from a very practical standpoint instead of a more scientific, okay? Which doesn't mean that we don't have the scientific basement. Today, we will talk about some marketing exchanges. And for that, I'd like to ask you to help me with a crowdsourced quick test. I'd like to, 5 people maybe that can stand up for a while. Do you mind? Any one of you? Stand up just a little bit for a while. Can you? Thank you. There's one, another, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll be enough, just to give an example. Okay? Very well. Okay. Now, please do the following. You stand up. You stood up, okay. Now, touch the tip of your nose with your arm. Touch the tip of your nose with your left arm. Go ahead, do it, please. Very well. Next one. Now, touch your right ear with your left arm. Right ear, left arm. Great. Next. Now, look up to the ceiling. And keep looking at the ceiling. I'm going to ask you, still looking up, recall the last product you bought. Which one was the last product you bought? Next one. Now look at me, and what's the color of my tie? Next one. Please turn to the person at your left, if you have anyone closer, and look the person in the eyes and give him a bright, nice smile. Jeez. Very good. Another one. Now breathe deeply and relax. Relax. Very well. Keep going. Please execute the following calculation for me, please. 7 times 3 plus 3 minus 4. Done? Good. Then turn to the person. Whoops. And yawn. Okay, and mixing that. And last one. Drop your arms, lose yourself, and relax. Good. Very well. You've done your first neuromarketing test. Simple questions for you all now. First one. How many of you can feel somewhat better, lighter now? Some of you? Yes. Yes, of course. Can anyone remember the seventh instruction that I gave? No. How many can remember when you started to feel better? Not exactly. And lastly, can you tell me why are you feeling somewhat better now? Do you? Not necessarily. Well, that's what it actually happens when you go to a store, you go to any place, and do any kind of marketing exchange. You go shopping, you go eating something, you go to buy something, whatever you do, that's what happens. You start feeling well or bad because somebody turned to yourself and stared you in your eyes and you didn't like that, or just forced you to go to some place, to some part of the store, whatever. You don't exactly know what triggered the bad feeling or the bad emotion, which actually is. These are the measures that we perform telepathically on you, and you're going to see in a moment, okay? And the two first are the two key of those, arousal and enjoyment. We, of course, take into account the other ones. High enjoyment means actually being very moved on, okay? I would say euphoric. Then lower the both, you're very bored. You have high arousal enjoyment, you're stressed, overstressed, you kind of be anxious. And the reverse of that happens to be that you are very relaxed. So this is, can you please play? This is pretty much the results that we had at the lab with the same exercise that you just did. Can we hit play, please? Anybody? Who's handling that? I'm going to be passing my time. There you are. got my time fast. Okay, let's do this. This. That there. There we are. Is it? Yes. Play. Okay. Go ahead. Leave it on play. Look at the top. When you stood up and asked you to touch your nose and your ears, everybody knows where they are, so there's no memory being used. What do I press here for this? This is the, this one. Okay, see, there's absolutely no need for that, but just a little focus on this, okay? Why is that? Because you need to focus on the action that you've been taking. Then you look up to the ceiling, no big deal. There you start using your memory. Well, when I ask you for the product, there's a recall and memory. There's a lot of persuasion because you've been engaged with a product that you recall because it's a product that you liked, and that's why you bought it, okay? After that, I ask you to smile to the person. There's some little focus, because you focus to the person, there's some kind of engagement that comes up, and of course, there's a little joy. If you recall, you smiled, you were laughing at that. After that, then I ask you to breathe. Oops, something happened here. Well, it doesn't matter. The idea is that everything comes down when you breathe, and then when I ask you to do some calculations, you focus again because you need to do that math. Of course, no memory, of course, no motion at all. And after that, then everything comes down to the relax, to the baseline, which is called homeostasis, okay? Let's go to the case study now, okay? What we do, once again, is try to mix both areas, neuroscience and standard market research. So as we do in mystery shopping, what we tried here is to see it in a different way, apply neuroscience to mystery shopping. Why? Because most of the protocols for consumer experience, for customer experience, and mystery shopping are being done on the other side of the desk. And then people, yes, probably they know where the policies of the companies are. Not necessarily they do know what the customers are really feeling and they do want from that chain store. So that's the test that we did. We worked at 2 pieces of chains, pretty much the same stuff, established in Venezuela, our country base. And you use EEG as an emotional predictor, mostly for engagement and relevance. You use eye tracking for visual attention and focus. Then you use galvanic skin response and heart rate variation for purchase behavior activation and arousal. Then we use the neuro metaphors, which is a position that we do calculating neuro efficacy score for the communication. And then we place that in the collective imagery of the local population we are doing the research on. That neurometaphors for the technical people here is based on both applied neuropsycholinguistics as well as studies on the semantics based on the cortex. And that's how we come with this particular score. The mystery shopping variables are pretty standard. The greeting, the pizza menu, the beverage menu, the personal information request, then the order verification, the payment information, of course closing with waiting time to delivery and the closing. And then comes the results. Can you play? Oops, again. I'm going to drop everything in here. As you can see, there's a focus with the person between the person attending and the There's, of course, some engagement here, and there's memory being used when a person is going from one thing to the other. But after the person makes the choice, then the focus comes down, and it's going to drop, and the persuasion is going to come down, as well as the memory, as well as the engagement. So it's a plain transaction. There's no additional engagement points for the consumer, meaning that there is further than the central transaction the person did at that point. This is one of the typical outcomes of the research we do. The heat maps go from the lower waves to the higher waves. Low waves are the most meditative and reflective. Relaxes is the basal state of the mind. Then we go to the sensory motor rhythm and to the more active thought. And as you can see here, red calls for activation. There's no big deal. And for women, on this chain number 2, there's some kind of activation very slow. See what happens with males. Nothing for chain number 1, But for chain number 2, we start to see some activation here in the back, as well as in the frontal cortex. Occipital cortex, frontal cortex. Why is that? That's what I'm going to show you now. This is the brain. 2 key areas. These chains are triggering. One of them has a menu mostly related to an auditory explanation of what the menu is. While the other one is more of a visual type of menu. So the second one, for example, instead of saying just a plain margarita pizza, blah, 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 goes to thin crust, freshly baked, with a sago crust melting over Hawaiian pineapple. So it triggers more connections in the brain, both for auditory and visual, and that creates more engagement and arousal. This is the comparison between the two, and of course, mainly because this usage of suggestive approaches. So this is a comparison between the standard questionnaire, what you see here on the dotted line, and the Neuro KPIs that we produce. And as you can see, it was very poorly evaluated. However, there are positive Neuro KPIs overlooked by the questionnaire, actually for the promotions. However, there's a declared overrating actually decreasing engagement. As you can see, everything is coming down. Still, there's a space for this store to improve the quality and design of their promotions to have a bigger, higher score. For chain 2, there's different. While there was very poorly evaluated because pizza service order pizza is pretty standard, it's overly positive because of the design of the store mostly. We'll show you in a minute. And then the declared under ratings do not identify the value of the visual menu at all. Nobody realized that on the other side of the desk. We go to the neural metaphors now. And with this, we are able to place within the collective imagery of the customers the findings. And then we found that experience is completely, absolutely different by gender. Women regard the experience on store 1 as pleasant or relaxing, while men, the store 2 feels more fun regarding music and optimism. Thus, we can see a more euphoric content on store number 2, which generates more activation, visual activation, and proves to be a greater arousal, which is retaining long-term memory, thus deriving more loyalty and trust to the chain and the brand itself. That's the nice part of it. Key findings, pretty small, pretty short, I'm sorry. Up to 17 true connecting elements with variable balances we found by doing this type of research. It's 280 pages, actually. And they were never measured by the standard questionnaire. So the client realized there's something new they weren't taken into account. Real emotional values of all aspects related to the experience were obtained, thus properly measuring their true engagement potential with the customers. Then, based on these findings, a much better customer experience protocol was designed and ran by both genders because they're different when they go to a gender, so you never shall use only males or females to do any kind of mystery shopper research, just for example. Thus yielding in a better cost-effective store design and communication campaigns toward the customers. Last but not least, within a year, those values have dropped significantly when they change to this new protocol, rose, so the chain performance did as well. So our emotions, and I want you to take this home. Your emotions is what it actually drives your decisions, thus your actions. If you start measuring your emotions, if you are able to understand how people is emotionally reacting, then you'll be able to probably have much more business success within your everyday business life. And thank you very much. That's it.